All right, we are live. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Last time I did this, we were having all kinds of issues, and I had Bernard Nader from PPC Maestro on. And unfortunately, we were having issues on my end, no fault of Bernard's or anyone else's. So I just want to make sure everybody can hear me. So first off, Bernard, can you hear me?
100%. You're loud and clear, Kevin.
Much better than last time. All right, so that's good. All right, so that's good. All right, so we got folks joining us from around the interwebs. So we're going to be talking about all things pay-per-click advertising on Amazon and how you can maximize your results and some tips and tricks and all that fun stuff in between. So if you're in the right place, or if that sounds like something you're interested in, you are in the right place. So my name is Kevin Sanderson, head of marketing and partnerships here at My Amazon Guy. I like to call myself the marketing and partnerships guy at My Amazon Guy. So we got Javed B joining us. Good day, Kevin and Bernard. I'm from India. That's awesome. We got some questions starting to come in here. And one thing I like to just give everybody fair warning of is I will from time to time reward participation, and I am at full empowerment to decide when we give giveaways. So Daniel, Daniel, is probably how I pronounce that. Sorry about that, Daniel. Maybe I need to wear my glasses a little more often.
Yeah.
Speaking of denial, it's these things here. But anyway, Daniel, thank you for joining us. Glad that we're coming in loud and clear. So Daniel, let's do this. Since you helped to quell some of the fears that I have with technology, the scars I have all over from doing these live streams, email me podcast@myamazonguy.com. Let me know that you were promised a free mag school course valued at $100. So I'll get that to you for free. All you got to do is just send an email to podcast@myamazonguy.com. Let me know. So, all right. So with that, I'm just kind of curious. What do you think, Bernard? Should we find out like how people are feeling today about their PPC campaigns?
I think so. It's a stress thing for people for sure. PPC. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah. PPC is definitely a stressful thing. So, all right. So let's do this using one word. How would you describe as creatively as possible your PPC results today compared to where they were 6 months ago? So, not just in general, how do you feel about it, but how do you think your PPC results are today compared to 6 months ago, using one word in the chat? And we will be doing, like I said, I just sometimes reward participation just for fun. So while folks are thinking of that word, Bernard, if you don't mind introducing yourself to folks.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Bernard, Nader, PPC Maestro. So I've been a seller for the past 7 years. And then COVID hit. And then ever since we started just focusing on helping brands scale on Amazon. Specifically, scale being profitable. That's the most important thing, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, because you could grow sales, as we know. You get the traffic, doesn't mean it's profitable, right? So we specialize in helping make sure that brands are profitable, which is really what matters at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, exactly. As Tony Robbins, I've heard him say, you can grow yourself into bankruptcy, so you don't want to do that.
Wow, I like that. That's cool. That's
yes. Feel free to steal that. It's not mine.
Cool. I like that. Yeah,
Tony's. All right, so let's do this. Let's see what some of the words that folks used are. So Javid B says worse. Ooh, so hopefully I can help you turn that into better. Michael Gen USA says expensive. That's definitely the case with PPC. Or if you're profitable, or sorry, if you're Amazon, you would use the word profitable instead of expensive.
Right.
Profit at the expense of sellers. And Janelle says blind. I wonder why would that be blind? Janelle, if you're still on here, let us know, why is it that you feel that you're blind to PPC right now? Or are you talking about my eyesight? My need for reading glasses and my denial. So, all right. So the three of you, Janelle, Michael, and Javed, who I said just respond back with one word describing your PPC compared to last year. Email podcasts@myamazonguy.com. let me know that I promised you a free mag school course valued at $100, and you get it. So now we've given like $400 worth of courses away already. We're just getting started. I might do something else here towards the end.
Nice.
All right. So, all right. So let's do this. We got some questions coming in. Are you ready for questions, Bernard?
Let's do it. That's what we're here for, right?
Yes. All right. So Kieran Abdullah says, how can we run PPC campaign with a very low budget, like $20 a day?
Wow.
And
Okay.
also, what is the best campaign, auto or manual? So two-part question, which could be connected or separated.
I think, you could probably answer both at the same time. But all right, I'll give it a shot. So which one is best? Usually, of course, it's manual campaigns are better because they're more targeted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Auto campaigns are broader, but they do have their places. We use them quite a bit, actually, but it depends on the strategy you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in your case, I don't know who asked the question again.
Oh, it was Kieran.
Kieran. So
Kieran Karan.
So to answer your question, is I hope it's not a launch, because for a launch, $20 budget is not gonna help, because remember what the purpose of PPC is, right? It's for basically gaining ranking, and then there you could lower your bids and be profitable. That's the end. That's the game of PPC. So if you're already launching the product, right, and you want a lower budget, that's fine. 20 per day, I would say, okay, if it's one product, you could probably get away with it, but you probably will lose ranking overall at some point, because it's probably not going to be enough. Now, it depends on the price point of the product. It depends on how expensive CPC is. So assuming that it's under $1, right, CPC, you're paying less than $1 per click.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say be very, very careful what targets you're using. So I would probably split it into an auto campaign, very low bid auto campaign, and not go exact match campaigns, because 20 is probably not going to work, because they're expensive, as you know. It costs more, but they help more with ranking, right? So I would probably go with auto campaign, like a low bid, low budget auto campaign. You could go like $5 on auto campaign, 8, whatever. And then the rest you could allocate towards, I would use probably phrase or broad match campaign. Just one or two of them. One thing I would say is make sure that you don't have too many keywords in one campaign, right? You don't want that. Be sure you did your keyword research. You have a good group of keywords that are relevant, highly relevant, and then target those in broad or phrase. But don't try exact at that point, I won't say. Until you know that they convert well, and then you could probably just transfer to exact after that. But yeah, that's strict. That's a very, very tight budget, and it's not gonna be. You're not gonna aim for ranking at this point for sure. But you're trying to maintain.
Especially not for a competitive keyword. Maybe a super long tail keyword, but
long tail. Yeah, go long tail and go either broad phrase and auto campaign for sure. That's your best bet for $20 a day.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So next up, before we start getting into more of the questions, I got to find my way around here. Before we get into more questions, I just want to give everybody a quick reminder. We are going to go until about 1 o'clock. So if you've not been to these live streams before, it operates just like how you can imagine a discussion in high school or a college class. And what happens? The teacher says, does anyone have any questions? Everybody stares and looks around at each other. Well, not everybody's staring, looking around at each other here on this live stream, because everybody's kind of wherever they are. But as we start getting more questions, people start asking more questions. And so just like when you're in class, one person starts asking questions, someone else has a question. All of a sudden, there's this energy of everyone asking questions, and then not everybody gets to ask their questions by the time class is over. Same kind of thing is going to happen here. So the maestro himself with PPC is here to answer your questions. So make sure you get them in while you can. And we're going to go, for the most part, first come, first serve. So the sooner you get your questions in, the sooner we will get them answered. And we generally run out of time before we run out of questions. So don't let time run out. The clock can be your enemy. Right now, it's still your friend. So ask your questions now, and we will get those. We'll get to them as soon as we can. All right, LinkedIn user, quite the name. No, says only an optimized product listing can enhance PPC campaign performance? Question mark.
Yeah. You want to go for it, Kevin, or I could answer that?
That's so okay. So I'll ask it a different way and tee you up. So if someone has a listing that's not well optimized, should they run PPC, and what should their expectations be if they do?
So yeah, good rephrasing. I like it. So yeah, a lot of people think PPC is a magic bullet, right? It's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if your listing is not good, I mean, not perfect, it's never going to be perfect, but good enough, right? Compared to the competitors. If it's not, then you're pretty much going to waste money on PPC. That's why I like using the search query report, right? It gives you how well your keywords are performing compared to your competitors. So if you're way below in conversion rate and then in click-through and then all that, then you got some work to do, right? So yeah, the answer is definitely, right? An optimized product only makes PPC better, 100%, always, no question about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you had a store and the shelves looked bare and it wasn't very inviting inside and things were just kind of laid out kind of messy. If you pay for a bunch of radio traffic and you pay for an expensive lease in a high traffic area, and you get all these people to come into your store and they're like, I don't want to be here, and then they leave. Well, it's not the fault of the traffic of the people walking in the area. It's not the fault of the billboards and the radio campaigns you ran. It is a conversion problem. So it's kind of the same thing on Amazon. You got to think about it from a merchandising perspective. Do people want to buy once they land on your listing? Do they want to click on your listing, and do they want to purchase once they get there? Otherwise, you're just paying money to Amazon, and they'll gladly take your money. They will not say don't advertise anymore. It's not to your best interest. They will say it is. So anyway, all right. Don't forget to get your questions in while you still can. Zain Shah ex-Muslim says, hey all, so I know Steven says decrease your prices a month to improve BSR. Should you decrease price on a good day or a bad day? Thanks all. What is your, before I can hit on this one, but what's your feelings on pricing?
So personally, I don't like decreasing prices. I mean, we don't try that because it's, it kind of, we like premium products, right? We like to present the product as premium. So we want to be above market in price. Of course, it doesn't always work, right? If you can't go too high, but you got to present your offer in a way that people think it's a premium product, then they're willing to pay more for it. It's like a perceived value kind of thing, right? Typically, people associate higher prices with higher quality, right? But there are cases where if you're launching, then yeah, you lower your price. Typically, we've done it either way, right? We've done it at a 20% discount during launch, or 40%, whatever. And we've done it launched at full price, and it still works, right? It depends on the product, depends on the market, and depends on your offer, obviously, right? So if you're trying to get rid of inventory, sure, you could lower your price and move it faster. That's fine. But it's not sustainable. That's the point, right? The point is to charge as much as possible for a product that you want to make sure appears to be premium or is premium, right? So that's the way I look at things.
Yeah, good point, that you want people to have the perception that there's good value there. So I was actually just looking to see if I could find a graphic here since they asked about Steven's particular case. Now, granted, the way I look at it is test it Steven's way, test it Bernard's way, see what works. There's no sacred cows when it comes to selling on Amazon.
Exactly. It might surprise you too. That's the crazy thing. You might think you increase the price, you would lose BSR, or you might get lower conversion rate, lower traffic, but it might surprise you. You got to test, like Kevin says.
Yes. So this is Steven's, and he looks at it more for launch pricing, but you can also use the same kind of method if you need to spike BSR, is to lower your price and then gently kind of increase it over time. And you know, and he gives an example here of like, you know, if your target price is $30, start off at 15. Now, granted, most people are going to lose money, but the goal is to at least kind of spike the algorithm. But the question regarding whether or not to do something like that on a good day or a bad day is just do it. Because it sounds like you're trying to get up and going. So, or you're trying to kind of spike the algorithm. So if you're trying to spike the algorithm, you might as well just pull the Band-Aid off sooner than later. And maybe you don't want to go all the way down to 50% off. This might not be the standard my Amazon guy answer to that. I'm not in brand management, although I have my own brand. So maybe I'm sympathetic to the idea of that's going to be expensive, but in the long run, it could help you. So maybe start at 35% off, kind of work your way up. And Steven's take is just take, like, if it's $30, you would do at like, you know, maybe 20, you know, to be around 35-ish% off, just in my quick example there I gave. All right. So next up, it looks like Harry must have, and this was from a while ago, must have questioned or put in a question, put in his answer to my question of what is the one word to describe your PPC now compared to a few months ago or 6 months ago. He said structured. So it sounds like he's kind of gotten things in place. So that's good to see. So Harry, I can also tell it looks like you must have been at the time I was going through everyone else's answer to that question, you must have been putting in your question, which I'll get to here in just a moment. So go ahead and email podcasts@myamazonguy.com. And we will also get you a free Mag School course valued at $100. All right. So to get to Harry's question, do you leverage bid optimizations through any AI tools, or do you think it's about giving time for Amazon Ads Console to catch up with third-party tool providers? What is your thoughts on AI and tools and all that fun stuff?
Yeah. At the moment, we don't use AI, but I think it's just a matter of time until it gets really good. Or I don't know if Amazon is going to have that on its platform. Maybe it will, right? But AI, I think it's, you got to leverage it for, I like using it for analysis, data analytics and stuff like that. You could use ChatGPT and stuff like that. But for bid optimization, I don't, because I have my own systems where we use the API, Amazon's API, and we have some custom built code for that. And it's very, we can tweak it the way we want. You can't tweak AI, right? It does what it does. It just gets the data and then comes up with what it thinks, right? Having said that, I've heard good things about stuff like Quartile, but I've also heard really bad things about it, right? So I think it depends on what type of products you're selling, what kind of budget you have. I think it tends to work best for like the bigger brands, right? Because typically the AI needs a lot of data, and data is a lot of money actually on Amazon. You got to pay for the data; they don't give it to you, right? So I would say I won't use it unless I know exactly what it does, and at this point we don't know, right? I like having control over my bid optimization systems, so for the moment I don't use it.
Yeah, the challenge with some of the software tools, I'm assuming we're talking about, like, no, let me take a step back. My Amazon guy uses bulk files. So we manage bulk files, and we do, between ad sales and organic sales for clients, about $1.2 billion per year. So it can be done without using AI tools. Now, I know there's people that love some of the tools out there and some that don't. Make sure you fully understand not just the excitement of the sales pitch that someone gives you, but you fully understand how their system works. You know, because is it truly AI, or is it just algorithmic? Meaning, like, there's a series of if-then statements. Like, if it goes up by this amount, you do this percentage bid, or is it using a formula? Just find all that out. And how much control do you have? Like, there's some that, you know, you put in a lot of parameters and you can at least kind of steer it. And then there's others that you just, you just hand them the keys to your ad account and they just go. And no one seems to be able to answer what that looks like. I won't say names of any tools.
Yeah, I mean it's AI, right? It's learning as it goes. So there's no answer for it. That's the thing. They don't know. So they can't answer what they don't know, right? So but yeah, I think ultimately it is, you gotta leverage it at some point for sure. But not yet, at least not for us.
Gotcha. All right. Next up, video questions explained. When running PPC auto campaigns or find highly converting keywords, and for what keyword discovery, do you guys bid average, below average, or bid higher than average to discover them? All right. So basically you're running, what is your strategy with auto campaigns? Let's start with that.
So yeah, we have like many different applications for it. So for bigger catalogs, I don't know how big your catalog is. Video games, I guess maybe he sells video games.
He explains them.
You explain them. Okay. So I'm assuming you have let's say I'll go from small account to like a bigger size account, like bigger catalog, right? So for the big ones, like we have accounts that have over 60,000 SKUs, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. For these accounts, we like using auto campaigns a lot. So the way we use them is catch-all, what we call catch-all campaigns. So you would have one campaign, a bunch of different ad groups. So each campaign would have each product line would have its own auto campaign, and each variation would have its own ad group, right? So we would have a campaign, let's say, with like 100 ad groups, and then in there we have like really low bids. They're very low. So if CPC for the product line is, let's say, 80 cents, we go like half of that. So 40, 35, somewhere there. That's why we call them low bid catch-all campaigns. That works really, really well for big catalogs.
How do you split up the ad groups?
By SKU. Each SKU or each ASIN has its own ad group, making sure that everything is properly organized, right? You don't want to send all the SKUs in one ad group. That way you're not going to know which keyword converts for what product, right? But if you separate them in an ad group, then yeah, you know exactly what converts. And then you could use that to launch manual campaigns using that data, right? That's the point. But yeah, for smaller accounts though, typically that doesn't work because you don't have too many variations or so. So I would say if you have converting auto campaigns, then definitely you want to test them in manual. I would not increase bids on auto campaigns because that's the point of them, is to discover. Once you discover, then your higher bid targets should go to manual campaigns, right? So I would keep them as is, optimize them, negate whatever is necessary, but make sure that you test them in broad, phrase, and exact matches. That's what we do.
Good deal. All right. Daniel asks how to run PPC on a product with a price of $12.
$12. I'm assuming, is it competitive? I mean, you gotta the point of you gotta measure your conversion rate with the price and how many clicks does it take to get a conversion, right? So if you're assuming it takes 10 clicks, that's 10%, right? You would have 10. If it's like under $1, you're close to like, you can't afford it. That's basically what I'm saying. So you got to make sure that your CPC is low enough to sell a product that cheap, right? If it's not low, then you got to be careful. You got to cut fast unless you can bundle it somehow, make the price point higher. But if you don't, you got to be very, very cutthroat with the keywords that you select, right? You got to be sure that they convert quickly. Otherwise, you're not going to be profitable, right?
Yeah,
so you got to keep an eye on PPC. You got to keep an eye on how many clicks it takes and what is the conversion rate, right?
Yeah, 10% conversion rate, 10 clicks to get a sale. So if you have even 40-cent clicks, that's $4 per sale. That's doing the math there. So that would be a 33% ACoS, which for most products, 33% ACoS is not bad at all. But for a $12 product, you're giving up Amazon 15%. So that's going to be like $1.70-ish using quick
plus,
top of the head math.
Plus the fulfillment fees, right?
Plus the fulfillment fees, probably at least. I'm assuming this is a small product, but it's probably at least $4.50.
Yeah.
So then whatever you paid for that product. So how much margin do you have? And then also sending it into Amazon, their, long-term storage fee. You don't have enough storage fee, the inbound placement fee, the whatever other fee they come up with. They lose units and they don't reimburse you any more fee.
I would add to that we have actually a brand where they do sell product that around that price point, but they control the supply chain. They make the product in-house, right? So the cost of goods for it landed is like $1. You could make money doing that. That's fine. But if you're spending $3 or $4 for cost of goods, then it becomes very tricky.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is you can do this.
Yeah.
You just have to be very clear on your numbers, and do not, in my opinion, if you're based on the way this question is run, I'm assuming you're kind of getting started with this. I could be wrong, but Bernard, you can feel free to object if you think differently. But I would go after long tail keywords and maybe work your way up to higher volume keywords, because you don't. If your product is, this is my example I like to use a lot, is marker versus red dry erase marker. Red dry erase marker is not going to have a lot of clicks. When you look in like Cerebro and Helium 10 or wherever you look, you're not going to see a lot of search volume, but it's going to be highly relevant to this product, a red dry erase marker. But if you just go after markers, because there's a lot of searches, you will spend a lot of money and not get a lot of clicks, because there's crafting markers, there's Sharpie markers, there's all kinds of other, Crayola markers, there's markers for school, markers for whatever. You got to make sure it's very, 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 very high intent based keywords, and not just, it kind of sounds like something people would buy.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good approach. Highly relevant.
Yes.
Typically longer keyword, long tail keywords, are highly relevant, and they convert really well, but lower search volume. So you combine a lot of them, get enough sales.
And sometimes with products like that, you could get away with like going after blue dry erase marker, because some people are like, oh, screw it, I'll just get the blue one, or get the red one instead of the blue. But in this case, with such a low price point, you really, really got to make sure everything is super relevant, and not even relevant based on what we think or what you think, but based on what the customer thinks, because they're the ones whose vote ultimately matters.
Right.
All right. Gayatri, hopefully I said that right. Please share PPC plan for product launch for a gifting product. So I'm assuming this is a giftable product.
Well, it's gonna be a long explanation for sure. Hopefully, you have a list of keywords you selected. So the way we would do it is by phase, right? Phase 1, we focus on ranking that product quickly, right? It's still budget efficient, but you got to rank. You got to find those 15, 20 keywords highly relevant that you believe you can rank for. And then we go after those guys hard, right? So once you do that, you got to track ranking. Phase 1, you got to track how good you're ranking. You got to track your reviews, making sure you're getting good reviews. And then we don't move until we get around 4.5 star reviews. And then phase 2, we basically go against broad and freeze match targets at that point. And then after that, again, you get more reviews, more conversions. And then after that, we expand more with different targets, right? We expand doing keyword harvesting pretty much and testing different ad types. But yeah, I think to answer your question, the stage number 1 is the most important one. If you want to really, you got to go ranking. You got to aim for the ranking. That's the most price efficient way of doing it. You don't want to go against 100 keywords, right?
Yes, definitely. Now, probably more specific to this particular question, since they brought up the gifting product, do you go after gifting keywords in that, or do you just test it and mix in like gift for mom, for example?
Right. That is a tricky thing too, right? So
red dry erase,
very seasonal. So is it like you said, like, is it Mother's Day thing? Yeah, for sure. If you can, go for it. But the thing is, it's got a really short lifespan, right?
I don't know. People are always buying gifts for mom. It's just,
right.
There's
Yeah, but it could be
big
Valentine's
spikes
Day,
at Christmas and Mother's Day.
right? Valentine's Day, for example, right? This are
Oh, true. Yeah, there's probably lots of gifts for mom right now.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, use whatever keyword makes sense and are highly relevant for sure, and just go for ranking for sure.
Awesome. All right, question comes up from Daniel. When to stop bid on keywords with low impressions?
I guess you tried increasing the bids and you don't get any impressions, which means there's maybe indexing issues, maybe it's not relevant. So yeah, I mean, if you're not converting for something, at some point the algorithm gives you an X. Basically, you can input $10 per bid and you're not gonna get any impressions. Right. So if that happens, you gotta analyze what's going on. Maybe you have an indexing issue. Maybe the keyword is not relevant at all. If it is, then there's something off with the listing for sure. But it is relevant. If it is relevant, you should get impressions, unless you're not converting at all, right? That's a different problem. If you're not converting, then that becomes tricky, right?
Yeah, and you might want to add it to the back-end search terms, whatever this keyword is, if it's relevant. Bernard brings it. He said it probably at least 5 times there, but if it's relevant, because that is so important. So if it is relevant, and because I'm going to use an extreme example. If I have my red dry erase marker and I go for iPhone case, to Bernard's example of $10 for my bid, I will never show up for iPhone case because it's just completely not relevant. But maybe put it in either your backend search terms, or if it's not that valuable of a keyword, maybe put it in the alt text of your A+ content. That might be helpful to at least see if you can get it indexed, include it in the product description, include it in at least one of the bullet points, maybe the title if you care that much about it. And then if you're still not, getting any keyword impressions, then raise it, and then eventually just say maybe it's just not relevant. All right, Marco Antonio Lopez gave us a hand. Thank you, Marco Antonio Lopez. We appreciate that. Javed B says recently started in January 25th, and the ACOS for auto is upwards of 65%. That is very, very high, running into losses for 40 days. Just wants to accumulate sales equals 1% ratings. Reviews, should I try manual?
That's such a loaded question there.
Yes, there's a lot going on in that question. I'll let you unpack this one.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, you've been running it for about 3 weeks, right? So it's not bad. Like, actually, an auto campaign running at 65%. It's not that bad. Are you getting conversions, right? Are you getting sales, and what's the conversion rate? I would basically dissect the search term report and look for keywords that have converted, and then test them in manual for sure. Absolutely. That should definitely lower your ACOS, right? Or you should also look into negating stuff that are not working, right? Irrelevant keywords or ASINs or whatever. You want to make sure you negate them, and then test manual for sure, 100%.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I'm just kind of trying to understand is recently started in January 25th. So that is just
3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 3-ish weeks ago. So you haven't been at this for that long. This says running into losses for 40 days. Or is that just the goal that you're going to go for about 40 days, which is about 7 weeks, which is about what, if you follow Steven's plan for
launch,
that about week 7 you'd be at 10% off. So you're getting close to that, be at full price. So once you get up to week 7 at the 40 days. So if you're at the January 25th, you're probably at about this 30 to 35% off point. So at a certain point,
I think he's only running an auto campaign, from what I understand. He's not running any manual campaigns, right?
Oh, start trying manual campaigns. And auto campaigns, sometimes they're horrible. Sometimes they're amazing.
Yeah.
But you got to test it. But you've only been at this for about 3 weeks. So you don't have a ton of data, and you probably don't have a ton of reviews. So that could be part of it. Or if, God forbid, the first person that left a review was a 1-star, you might as well even try relaunching the product with a different ASIN, potentially. So anyway, so hopefully that was helpful there. All right. Varun says, with the new update, negative targeting is no longer available for sponsored display campaigns except for existing ones. How are you guys tackling this challenge for new accounts or new sponsored display campaigns? I didn't know that. So I'll let Bernard that one.
Varun, the truth is we don't use sponsored display that much. So yeah, we use it for like defensive stuff. We protect our listings with that's it. We don't do much else with that. So we don't negative exact anything because we're defending. We have a set budget for it and we don't really care what it does. Just making sure it protects the brand, the products. We don't use it that much because it's honestly not a good investment on PPC spend. So
got it. All right. Javed, who was just the question we were answering, gave us a few details. Yes, for conversions, 49 so far. So we've gotten 49 sales. Okay, it's not bad. You're off to a good start. Now, it did start January 1st. So maybe we misunderstood that. The January 25 probably just meant January of 2025. So this helps. So you're at about the point where if you're following Steven's plan, it's getting close to the point of being maybe like only 10 to 20% off your target price. Appreciate the suggestion. Sorry for the fat question. No need to apologize here. We like big questions. Sometimes we're just trying to unpack them and we only have so much detail. So thank you for the clarifications there. And if anyone else is watching this, let us know if you have any questions. We still have quite a few questions to get through, but we can still take some more on. You never know. I may throw in a participation here. So Javed, I'll do this. Since you came back and asked us gave us a bunch of clarifying statements there, I'll go ahead and grant you a free Mag School course valued at $100. That could be PPC, SEO, the design course. There's a ton of them. All you got to do is email podcasts@myamazonguy.com. All right, so let's get into some more questions here. Marco Antonio Lopez asks, I sell some products in both seller and vendor central. Ads accounts are separated. Do the PPC campaigns bid against each other? How would you manage this? Oh, that's a good question.
That's an interesting question, yeah. Personally, I would not use vendor central. That's what I would say. Just go for seller central. I would assume that they do compete.
Why do you say that, though?
Because you have more control with seller central, right? You have vendor is limited. You don't control the pricing. You can sometimes control the listing. So if you do have seller central, then yeah, I would go for that. I would not use both at the same time. There's no real reason for it. I don't understand. Could you explain why using both at the same time?
Yeah, and I'm assuming these are probably different products in the catalog. Some are vendor central products, some are FBA. I would assume that they would be bidding against each other.
I would say
because they're separate ad accounts, but sometimes it's weird how that works because they've always said you're not bidding against yourself in the same ad account, but I would imagine you would be potentially because these are separate ad accounts.
Well, you are. Yeah, I think you are for sure. Even different campaigns, right? You are actually bidding against yourself if you're targeting the same keyword, right? Technically, you are competing against yourself, right? So who knows? But again, I would not do both at the same time if it makes sense.
Got it. All right. Varun Goel says, how are you guys tackling this challenge for new accounts? Oh, this was about the sponsored display thing. So you already answered that. All right, so then we have a question here from Ebanab Ahmad. What do you think would be the maximum ideal daily budget that would be healthy for a product, which is a planter, for a $25 price point and a $6 profit, and sells for a range of 5.8 pieces per day? So they're selling about 6 units a day, have about a $6 profit, which I'm assuming that $6 profit is after you take into account all of Amazon's fees, cost of goods sold, but without PPC. So that sounds like almost 25% margin, a little less. Let's call it 24.
Still pretty good. It's still pretty good. So the way I would approach this, why you want to limit the daily budget? If it's working, you're getting a 25% margin or so, right? So why would you want to cap the budget there? If it's giving you profitable sales, then why not actually pay more and get more profitable sales?
Yeah, the way I always like to look at budget, and different people disagree with this, is that it is basically a guardrail. It's so that you don't fall off the cliff. Where, maybe you have like all of a sudden you're spending $1,000 a day, and they're not going to be like, well, sorry, we'll give you your money back because you don't feel good about it. No, they're going to say it was within your budget and we spent it because you asked us to. Now, the good news is, other than like Facebook or Google Performance Max, well, they will just find ways to spend your budget if you give them more budget. Here, if there's not enough search volume, they just won't continue to show your product. So I wouldn't worry too much about the budget, but it is good to have something if you're just starting out. So if you're doing 6 pieces a day, and let's say you want to have a break-even budget, and you have $6 profit, that's $36 budget. So I would say call it 40, but the range of, that's not 5.8, that's 5 to 8 pieces a day. So call it 8, so that's 48. So that's at $6 profit that you could be giving up just to at least get things moving. That is about $50 a day, 6 times 8, rounding up to 50. But I would round it up higher than that because you never know. And then you can always scale it back. But let me ask you this question, Bernard. Do you use budget as a tool or more bidding as a tool to optimize campaigns?
Both. I mean, budget is a big one as well. Like I mentioned, both. You got to use both for sure. So you want to make sure you don't over optimize keywords that are doing well. And by the same token, you want to make sure that the campaigns that are doing well don't run out of budget either, right? So it's both. It's basically, we do it a few times a week, adjust budgets. So for the exact purpose, the exact thing that I'm saying here, right? If you're having profitable sales from, let's say, a handful of campaigns, you want to make sure that those campaigns don't run out of budget, of course. But again, it's very dynamic, right? Some days that campaign does well, the other days the other campaigns do well, right? So you want to make sure that whichever ones are doing well, it has enough budget, and the ones that are not doing well, you want to make sure that you limit the budget on those. So that's what I was telling Abanud, right? So if you are having profitable campaign, to me, I like pushing the boundaries to see how much more traffic you can drive to it, right? And ultimately gaining organic ranking by the more you sell on the thing, the more organic ranking you get, right? So you're not gonna know until you push it, you test it. You reach a point where you get diminishing return, obviously, right? More PPC doesn't equal most profitable sale. Then you would know where to adjust at that point. But you don't know until you try it, right? You gotta test it. You gotta push it and see where it is. So yeah, you gotta adjust both budgets and bids for sure.
Awesome. Earlier, Harry Slater had put in I said, give us one word to describe your PPC campaigns today compared to 6 weeks ago, and he came in late. And I had said maybe he was asking a question at the time, which he confirmed that was the case, and appreciated our answer on that. So our pleasure to help you out with that. Then he asks another question. Do you leverage bid optimizations through any AI tools?
That's the same, right? I think we answered that one before.
Oh, that was maybe he was just saying that was the question he was asking earlier. Okay, got it. All right, so then we'll come down to a couple more we have. All right, so Loud Water, CTR and CVR, click-through rates and conversion rates, how to find for a specific category, how to check if I'm above or below the current trend in a category. A fat answer would be great.
A fat answer, huh? All right. I could give you a fat answer for that. I mean,
Sure.
All that you need is in the search query report performance, right? The search query performance report. So I don't know if you know how to access that, but under brands, you find it there. It gives you all the metrics you need to calculate all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I could probably give you like exact. I mean, it's very easy to calculate that stuff, right? They give you impressions, they give you clicks, and they give you purchases. So you would take, you would calculate those, and then make sure that you compare it to the competitors, which is yours would be brand share, and then the other would be market share, right? So that way you could know exactly what keywords are doing best for your product. Yeah, I mean, I could make it fatter, but I don't know. Maybe just go ahead, Kevin, if you have something to add to it.
Yeah, I mean, just, we've got tons of content on this YouTube channel about search query performance report, which I'll be very helpful with that. And just figure out where you are. With some of it, you kind of have to create some of your own formulas for click-through rate and conversion rate, especially compared to the competition. But just, do the math. There's tons of whatchamacallits out there. There's tons of videos, both on our channel and other channels, walking through how to do all this, and then check and see how you fit compared to your competition. All right. P. Walsh says, I've heard that if you have a high converting keywords in an auto campaign, you should not move them into a new campaign because they will cost more and may not convert as well. Is this true? This is kind of this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts, but I'm guessing this is kind of mixing a couple of controversial answers people have to this question.
Yeah, I mean, you could ask like 20 different people. You might get like, I would say 6 different answers, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I don't touch what's working, right? I don't like doing it. I'd rather leave it running and then test it externally. And if the traffic is doing better on the other side, let's say you have an auto campaign, like you said, if it's converting well, there's no point in pausing it. What we do is test it in the other match types. We test it in broad match or sometimes exact, right? But we don't touch the auto campaign. We don't negate it. Not at the beginning, for sure. We don't, unless ultimately you're gonna see one of them perform better than the other, right? So sometimes broad does better. Sometimes phrase does better, right? So you would pause the one that's doing the worst and then leave the other ones alone. That's it. That's what we do.
Awesome. Yeah. And so the question is, should you even move them into the new campaign? So we're here at My Amazon Guy, we're on the same page as Bernard. Like, don't turn it off. If it's working, let it work. Because it used to be you hear less and less of this, but there's still some people that believe strongly in this, and they have their reasons why.
Yeah.
But it used to be people would say, like, okay, you start off an auto campaign and then you put them into a manual campaign. And so you negate it in the auto campaign and then you pause it as it goes up from maybe broad to phrase or exact or whatever. And so eventually you just end up with these exact match keywords standing alone. But why? It's like, if they're making sales, let them make sales where they make sales. You can test them out in the other, phrase or exact or whatever, but don't turn off the winners, because Amazon has like a record ID for every keyword that you're going after in every campaign. And so if it's working one place, don't turn it off somewhere else.
Right. And at times you might even find that even if you duplicate the exact bid and everything, you might see your ACoS rise like sharply.
Right.
So there's no reason for that. I keep them running, and then I just launch different campaigns, testing manual campaigns. So
yeah. All right. Loud Water asks, I sell in the USA market and I source from China, ? I'm assuming that's more of a statement. My next shipment is due in a month, and I sell locks. Okay, got it. So padlocks or something like that. Going to hit with the new tariffs, which is 25%. That's a good question.
That I don't know.
I don't know I'm having trouble following some of this, like tariff stuff. It's like
all over the place.
Like I don't know if some of it is like threats or like negotiating tactics.
I think so. Yeah. I think so. But 25% would put a lot of people out of business. So I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, it's not gonna,
if it's like we're talking about an extra 25%, that would be a lot. Now, who knows? Mexico and Canada, I think both, they kind of came to terms with like, all right, we'll go along. So if regardless of what your politics are, read or listen to the audiobook version of The Art of the Deal, which is, our president wrote this book in like 1989 or something like that. It is enlightening. So you at least kind of see like, okay, where this, where the administration's head is at. And you'll see a lot of the moves that have been made both now and in the previous administration of, from when Trump was in office in 17 to 20. You'll see it. You'll see a lot of like, oh, okay, this is how. And I think some of these tariffs are more kind of like, all right, well, if you're not going to play ball, this is what you're going to have.
Yeah.
And then people that are willing to play ball. So I have a feeling some of these countries are going to want to play ball. Like China needs to, like, just as much we all need to buy stuff from China. China needs to sell their stuff to the U.S. And so I think there's going to be
right. They sell the most products here in the U.S. So.
Yeah. And some of it is we might not understand what the deals are because they might be under the table or in a roundabout sense, because China may feel like they have to save face with the U.S. And so who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Assume you are going to have to pay those tariffs, and maybe you don't. All right. So one last question here. P. Walsh says, another question for you. When you have several variations, example, color or fragrance, do you use one campaign to advertise several of them, or do you set up separate campaign for each variation?
So I love that question. So what we do is we like, for variation listings, we like using the loss leader approach, right? So we have one variant that typically is priced lower. We push traffic towards it. Even if we lose money on it, it's fine because the other variants are higher priced and we get a higher margin on those. So that's the way we like to approach them. And the way we structure PPC for it is we split the campaigns by generic and by variation specific keywords, right? So generic would be like anything that's related to the whole product. Like it doesn't matter the color, the size, whatever. That's generic. And then variation specific stuff, you would have like a small group of keywords where we target those guys, right? But like I said, the main ad budget goes towards one variation, the one that typically lower price, right? It's lower price, but in the back end, we make more profits when people buy the other variations.
Awesome. All right. So Loudwater says, thank you very much for answers to those questions. All right. So Bernard, for folks who want to learn more, follow you, where should they go?
So go to my website, www.ppcmaestro.com, and you could find my calendars there if you want to schedule a call or you want to send me a message. My email is there as well. So yeah, reach out and let's.
All right. Yeah, Bernard is very knowledgeable when it comes to PPC. He was an OG speaker at my PPC Mastery Summit back in 2020.
2020, yeah.
Going way back in the day. So he knows his stuff. He's been following this for a while.
That was the first one, right, Kevin? That was the first one you did, right? I think.
Yes, that was the first summit I did, and I just completed I'm starting to lose count, but I want to say it's the 20th summit I've done for sellers, and I've done another one or two others I've done for agencies. So I want to say I've done 22. Plus, you were also an attendee at Brand Accelerator Live, which is the event I put on with Scott Volker in Fort Worth.
We met there.
That's right. Yeah. Cool. All right. So why don't we do a little giveaway here? Should I do another giveaway?
Sure, go for it.
All right, so I'm going to give away the Mag School 5-course bundle, which includes the PPC course, the SEO course, the design course, the catalog course, and the reviving sales on Amazon course. That's 5 courses. You could buy it for $250 in full transparency, but it is $100. If you were to buy those individually, it'd be $100 each. So let's just say $500 value. So it's a $500 value. You could win. We're going to pick one winner. And if you'd like to be entered to win, type in Maestro into the chat. I know I'm kind of mixing brands here, but this is coming from Mag. I'm only giving Bernard props here as a thank you for joining us. So type in Maestro into the chat, Maestro. And if you're not sure on the spelling, just do your best. We're going to pick a winner here momentarily. So just type in Maestro into the chat, and that's $500 courses you could win, but you must act quickly because we're running out of time. And historically, more people will watch than will enter to win. So that's a good chance that you have. But you got to pick, or you got to pick. We're going to pick a winner here momentarily, but you got to enter to win if you want a chance at being picked. So, let's say this is last call. Just type in Maestro, and people have done a very excellent job with spelling. So if you'd like to be entered to win, just type in Maestro into the chat, and you have to be live here. So if you type in Maestro in the chat tomorrow, we appreciate your engagement, and thank you for coming all the way to the end. But we're only going to pick people who are live. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I currently have 8. All right, going once, going twice. All right, we're cutting off here. So between 1 and 8, give me a number, Bernard.
3.
3. All right. 1, 2, 3. Loud Water. Congratulations. Just email podcasts at podcast at myamazonguy.com. Let me know that you are the winner of the Mag School 5-course bundle. Please make sure to specify that, and that you're Loud Water, because oftentimes people's email names are very different than their screen names on YouTube. So, but hopefully everybody was a winner, because you got to learn here from Bernard. So make sure to go check out ppcmaestro.com. Follow Bernard on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. And with that, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.